Hi, Matt Saintsing here. And if you're listening to this, I know I don't have to tell you about the new heights veterans reach each and every day, metaphorically speaking. But for 8 DAV members from Massachusetts, well, they take that phrase literally. These disabled veterans flew to Tanzania to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, which is the tallest peak in Africa. And my colleague, Elizabeth DePompei, caught up with Coleman, who is DAV's National 1st Junior Vice Commander, after he returned from the 9-day trek to the top. You'll hear everything from Coleman's personal story of becoming a Marine and a DAV member, and how he ended up on a plane destined for East Africa. So let's jump right into it. Here's Elizabeth and DAV's Coleman.
And so when you enlisted, were you thinking like this could be a long career, or I'll do, a few years? What was kind of your mindset going in?
Yeah, no, I didn't really think about it as a long career. I thought at the time, I was graduating high school. I knew I wanted to get some higher education opportunities. And at the time, the GI Bill wasn't as robust as it is for post 9/11 veterans. And I knew I wanted to go to college. So, I thought, well, I'll go in the reserves. And if I like this, I'll go to college and I can always, try to apply to, go in after school, maybe apply for officer candidate school. Unfortunately, Saddam Hussein had other plans and invaded Kuwait. And rather than attend graduation, I was activated pretty quickly and sent on a plane over to Saudi Arabia to support infantry units with supply runs back and forth from forward supply bases to frontline troops and then back.
How long were you there, and what was that time like?
I was there 6 months. It was, it was pretty frenetic. I was pretty fast paced. Sunday is the same as a Wednesday. And you just kind of sort of focused on, you get up, you do your job. I was fortunate in that, I was driving. So rather than be stationed at one location, I was sort of following up behind frontline troops at forward supply bases. And I would get to, take whatever gear they needed to continue their mission. Gave me a different perspective on my own life. And I think the life of, kind of growing up in an American culture and interacting with Bedouins and small Saudi Arabian Kuwait towns gave me a deeper appreciation, I think, for what I had back home.
All right, now let's jump way forward and talk about how you learned about and got involved with veterans on the 48.
When I was a kid, the local boys club used to take us occasionally up to New Hampshire to go hiking. And for whatever reason, I just really got into it. I loved it. I mean, it was like an entire new world. Like, you'd look up, see the stars, there wasn't cars and 2,000 people surrounding you at every single moment of your day. It just really made an impression on me. So I tried to do that and try to go up, camping and hiking and being in the outdoors a lot. And I think, I would talk to different veterans about that, and certain vets and I would go away for a night or two camp. We do summer hikes, we do winter hikes, stay out there in 0-degree weather. I found when I went with veterans, it was a really great opportunity for us to be able to talk in a way that, we might not talk in a group, or we might even not talk, back in a different setting. And, I learned a lot about other people and the struggles and challenges that they're facing. And, hopefully was able to, be a good listener and when asked for advice, hopefully provide some advice that can help. And people did the same for me. When Kurt Powers, who was on the trip, Army veteran and a Purple Heart recipient from Iraq, called me and said, we could do Kilimanjaro. And I said, okay, that's kind of a far cry from, I was going to, talk about going up Mount Washington in New Hampshire, but yeah, okay. And he said, I'm involved with this group, Veterans on the 48, and I'd love to introduce you to the founder and see if that's something that, you'd be interested in helping us try to put together. So we had breakfast, myself and Kurt and the Veterans on the 48 founder, Michael York. And I asked him about the organization, what he was trying to accomplish. And I was just really impressed. Michael had a really simple and direct mission for this. It wasn't, he was very clear. He didn't want to have mission creep and get all over the place. This was about getting veterans to get out, hike, enjoy the outdoors, feel a sense of accomplishment. And it was for veterans of all abilities. veterans of all ages. They just really wanted to introduce people to this. And because one, it's really fun, and two, they rightfully believe that it's therapeutic, and particularly for veterans that, are still having a hard time with readjustment, or might be having some mental health issues that, need some kind of calming and peaceful environments to be able to process some of the challenges that they're facing. We had this great conversation. I said, this sounds amazing. I'd love to help you out. Let's try to tell me more about your group. Veterans on the 48 is doing this very specific thing. I said, let me tell you about it from the perspective of DAV, though. We're supporting your goals every day. We're getting those veterans their disability ratings that they so desperately need, and getting them signed up for the benefits that they've earned. We're providing transportation to our older veterans because, they're climbing their own mountains. They're trying to get to a VA hospital when you're in your, advanced age and you have serious medical issues, and transportation can be unreliable sometimes. You don't want to go without your medical care. We're stepping in and filling that need. And then, on another level, we're down in Washington, D.C., and everything from the time, we're talking about PACT Act, talked about the Deborah Sampson Act, and a few other legislative initiatives that DAV had been involved in and have been successful. And I said, you don't always see it. And I know younger veterans don't always see it. It's fun climbing a mountain. It's fun getting a T-shirt. It's fun having laughs. But, all the benefits and services that got us to where we're able to do that really came at the expense of people. Long story short, I end up telling the department, I said, hey, I'm thinking about climbing Kilimanjaro, and do you guys have any ideas about, how we can support myself and these other veterans to be able to go? And the department was pretty quick to say, you know what, we think we can support that.
So you're descending and flying into Tanzania. Well, tell me what you were feeling as you were approaching this trek.
I was probably a little more frightened than everyone. I mean, most of these people that I went with were anywhere from their 20s to late 30s. I am not in my 20s or late 30s, but I hadn't had the opportunity to do any high altitude training, and plus I'd never been to Africa. So, I was excited, but at the same time too, there was like that part in the back of my head said, this could be extremely difficult. You have to mentally prepare yourself to be able to get this done. And there are two options you can take when you go with these guides. You can go and stay in a hotel in one of the downtown areas. You can, just go to the mountains from there and have the amenities of the hotel. Or you can stay at the orphanage and try to help out a little bit. And, I think uniformly, our group was geared toward service, and that was something that appealed to us. So didn't take long for a spontaneous soccer game to break out. It really gave me a really good head start. And that was day one. And day two, we went over to the mountain to climb. When I got there, I really hadn't been thinking about it as much.
And so in the days leading up to the summit that you're all working toward, what were those days like? Can you describe kind of the terrain and the physical challenges?
Yeah, the terrain is like one of the most fascinating parts of Kilimanjaro, because you climb through 5 eco zones to get to the top. So when you start at the bottom and the base is about 3,000 feet above sea level. You start hiking, and then you immediately sort of encounter the rainforest. And the rainforest is amazing. I mean, all of a sudden you're in this like jungle type environment, and it's like, wow, like, all right, I'm in Africa. They take you up at a very, very slow, deliberate pace. And it's to climatize you to the altitude. Some of the more experienced and younger hikers that I was with, when they were like, oh, this is going to be a frustratingly slow pace. But, they came to quickly realize, there's a reason for it. Next day, we woke up and we went up a little further. And, we got to another camp. And now we're at 13,000 plus feet. And that was, now some people are really beginning to feel the effects of the altitude and the lack of oxygen, reduced pressure, how it's, kind of affecting them. At that night, it was very clear. And I remember, we slept in tents, two people to a tent. And I had to get out of my tent because one of the effects of the medicines that you take to help acclimatization, it also makes you have to go to the bathroom quite a bit. And all of a sudden I looked up and it was like, oh my God, the Milky Way and the entire galaxy was like on full display. There were more stars than I'd ever seen in my entire life. And it was just absolutely breathtaking and amazing. And I think I ended up laying on the ground and like spending an hour just looking straight up at the sky because I've just never seen anything like that. I've seen stars before. I've been, again, New Hampshire, Vermont, places like that, but I'd never seen anything that clear and that comprehensive. So when you finally reach the summit, that's like an Arctic kind of climate. And it was, yeah, a little chilly going up, without a doubt. Yeah, I think the wind was blowing. It was -0 with the wind chill. I loved it because I think if you had started with one climate and only had that all the way up until like maybe the very top, it would have got pretty even the rainforest, which is fascinating. Eventually I would have been like, all right,
Yeah.
hiking for 4 days through the rainforest. Like, is there anything else to see? The diversity of the climates really help mentally in terms of getting yourself motivated for the next day. Like, hey, get to see something new today.
So when you weren't hiking, like what were you guys doing? What was the kind of sense of camaraderie like among the group?
Oh, the camaraderie was amazing. I knew one person reasonably well. Michael, I had just kind of started to build a relationship with. And I really think that's where the veterans perspective comes in because there's that commonality that you share in terms of, regardless of where you served, we all shared that common kind of theme of military service. In a lot of ways, it was like being back in the squad bay again. And there were some people struggling with some pretty significant events that had happened to them in military service and that were traumatic for them. But more than one of them told me that this group and the ability to talk to each other and just, the fact that we're all on this common mission is like, one of the happiest moments I've had in the last 20 years. And I thought that was really cool.
So the moment you get to the summit, tell me what you see and what's going through your mind.
You've got people who you're incredibly close to who are all aligned towards not only meeting that same goal themselves, but aligned towards helping each other to meet that goal. When we first started, there was a lot of banter, a lot of jokes being thrown around when we're walking, a lot of conversations going on. On summit day, it was just like, like just put your head down, nobody talk, let's just march, let's just get this thing done. Sometime around daybreak, the sun really came up and I could see that it was going to be a completely clear morning. So that was really inspiring. I'm like, wow, when you get to the top, the views are going to be insane. It just felt like one of the greatest accomplishments of my life. I just was sitting there like, I was exhausted. We couldn't stay up there too long because they said if you're here any longer than 15 or 20 minutes, you're really risking getting altitude sickness pretty badly. So then we kind of left the summit and took our photos and did our thing and hiked down. And then we went to go get some food. Everyone's just sitting around the table kind of quiet. And I think, somebody said like, you guys just believe we just hiked Kilimanjaro? It was like all of a sudden like, whoa, that just happened? We couldn't even, it didn't even seem real.
I would think you'd have to drag me off the top of that mountain just because you just want to stay and stare at it and experience it for so long. Also might want to avoid the 15-hour hike down. But how do you think this experience changed you or changed your perspective?
Really broadened it. I mean, it's not only just this incredible sense of just personal accomplishment, but it's always good to remind yourself that whatever your current surroundings are not indicative of the entire world, right? I think sometimes you get comfortable, you're there all the time, you get a sense like, this is really it. This is my world. And you go somewhere and you go to the top of a mountain like that and you look around, you're like, this is a way bigger place than my own neck of the woods. And it's not just that, but it was the interactions with our guides who were absolutely amazing. Talking to them about their families, about their personal stories, about how they grew up. It just really reinforces that it takes all different kinds to make this world go around. And there are people over there that I might not have a lot in common with in terms of my upbringing, my background, my economic status, or whatever. But what you got a sense from these folks who were helping us, and they were primarily all native Tanzanian, how incredibly patriotic they were about their country, how proud they were about their country.
So I imagine this is just personally a big source of pride for you that you accomplished this. But how do you feel about the fact that DAV Massachusetts was able to be part of this and help make it happen?
Incredibly appreciative, incredibly proud. When I went back and told the veterans, I said, hey, the department's going to help basically sponsor a bulk of this trip. They were floored. They had thought, well, we'll all, we'll run a series of fundraisers and we'll do this and do that and do this. And I said, no, we can spend a little more time on training and what we're doing because, the department wants to help you. And I think that was a real eye opener. And what I think the opportunity there is regardless of what you're doing, it's not just the activity, but it's a great opportunity to engage those younger veterans, give them a different perspective on what they might think DAV is about and try to get them to the reality of what DAV is about. And it's also a really good opportunity to listen to them.
What's next? What mountain are you climbing next?
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm going to do the highest mountain in Rhode Island. It's like 865 feet. Yeah. No, it's funny. I do want to get back out once you hit the fall. The mountains in New Hampshire and Vermont are exceptionally beautiful.
That's all I have. Is there anything else that you'd like to add that we didn't go over?
I mean, again, just super appreciative to the department. I'm super appreciative to the National DAV and to you for highlighting our efforts. People are interested in doing this. It is, tell you from a 55-year-old guy, I mean, it's doable, but, you don't have to do this in order to feel like, you have a great sense of accomplishment. I mean, honestly, if there are things out there in your local community that you want to do and goals that you think would be cool, get involved with the department, reach out to some veterans, reach out to veterans in that like mind and see if they'd be interested in doing it with you or sponsoring you or helping you. Not only helps that individual, but it also, I think, gives a more vibrant and a newer sense about what this organization is all about.
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. And if you're a veteran aspiring to ascend to the highest of peaks, maybe check out your local DAV chapter. You never know who you'll find in your journey. I'm Matt Saintsing. Until next time.